GVN presents Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. Today's binge:
Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right, welcome once again to another installment of Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And we are getting down to it. We're up to episode 10 of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is called Stolen. And it's not a surprise to us because we've already said that Nathaniel was stealing things left and right from people.
That's right.
And this is just a continuation of that. But just like every broadcast we do, we will start out with allowing my lovely wife to spill their guts to the audience. So that's what we're going to do. That was a horrible thing, sounding thing, wasn't it?
Okay.
No, that might get some new views.
It's true. A bomb. And didn't even edit that out. Okay, so
it's trending.
Yeah, it's trending. I just snapped the table there. I'm going to try not to do that.
Right, try not to do that.
We're learning lots of things as we go along with our podcast. So,
which means that pounding the table is a no-no.
But it seems to work so well for me. I do it constantly. If we only had a band, it would be fantastic. So let's talk about a couple of things. Thing number one. Nothing makes me more happy than when my watch dings and it says that I made it, that I actually moved. That makes me some kind of happy. I'm going to tell you right now.
Right. It's sort of like when it tells you that you need to breathe. It's like,
breathe.
If I hadn't been breathing up till now, I wouldn't.
I get it. I do hold my breath a lot. I will admit that. But, yeah. Also, on that note, I just want to let you all know that this COVID has really turned me into the laziest person alive. I, yesterday, called my grandson, told him to bring me the tape measure, then I told my daughter to go measure something.
Well, that's good on him.
Because I thought that was the thing to do while I sat on my throne.
So what were you wanting measured?
It doesn't even matter, really.
So one of them got the tape measure and the other one used it.
That's right. And then they told me, and I didn't really believe the measurements, so, there you go. But anyway, that's beside the point.
That does not
because
did you measure that right? Do I need to go do it? No, you can go do it again.
You have the same number twice. I need to know. And then I said, well, that sounds like 2 inches.
Measure twice, cut once.
That sounds like 2 inches too short. She says, yeah, well, those are 2 inches off the ground. And I was like, okay, that's not what I wanted. Okay, so anyway, that thing, and so I have now proven, and now I get almost all my groceries delivered. I have hardly gone to the grocery store in the last month and a half. I think I pretty much have gone maybe twice. And that's only because I was looking for something that I couldn't find on them.
But by now, most of these delivery people know where we live. So it's
and wow, just it doesn't matter where it comes from. I don't care. Walmart,
and of course,
Amazon.
With COVID, they don't. They hardly ring the doorbell. They just kind of just load it out on the porch and
say. Same thing with deliveries for food too.
Yep, just stick it out on the porch and hope you come across it.
I'm going to turn it. Pretty soon, I'm going to be walking with a giant waddle. I'm going to look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man coming down the street pretty soon.
Or you better start looking like the captain of the people on...
Yes, on Wall-E.
Right.
I was going to roll around in my little rolly chair. Well, actually, this little cover chair. This is smooth sailing. I have no bone density anymore. That's fantastic. Matter of fact, if I got up, I'll crush myself.
Now I look like the Blob from the X-Men.
It's horrible. I gotta stop this. It's gotta end. And look at my hair. It looks like. Look at. I keep doing that. Why do I keep doing it?
Oh, that really helped. Marty. And of course, you're backwards too, so that just messes you up.
I just have to do it out of my own mind how it should go. Okay, there. No, that's even worse.
You finished?
No. Okay.
This beauty segment brought to you by Revlon.
Here, this is my, yeah, it's my brush.
Who needs a comb when you have fingers?
There, perfect. Now I'll just stand with it. Okay. Anyway.
Okay, so Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Stolen. So what? I mean, now this is actually the first episode that you and I didn't watch it together.
Yes,
initially.
it was horrible. I don't like that at all.
Well, of course, again, the part of the problem is because Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes out at 10 o'clock at night, and I have to get up at 1:30 to go to work. It is difficult for me to stay up to watch it. So usually what I've been doing up till this last episode was take a nap, get up in time to watch the episode with her, and then go back to bed. Well, this time there was no getting up. I just stayed in bed until it was over.
That was my fault. So I didn't wake him up because I didn't watch the episode because my daughters were here. We were talking, and then all of a sudden it was 11:30, and then they were like, "I guess we should go home now." And I'm thinking, "Yes, you should. You ruined my episode. Right. What's wrong with you?"
It was game over, man. Game over.
I was like, psst. And I went upstairs to see Martin for a second, and I don't know why I decided I needed to.
But you went ahead and watched
Wake the sleeping guy up.
Yes, but okay, so you watched it on your own the first time. Mm-hmm. So give me your first impressions from watching. Since you watched live and you had no idea what was going to happen. So
well, I feel like we're starting to tie some things together now, and I did feel like. I had a feeling that after watching this episode, certainly Fitz is alive somewhere, and I feel like he's alive somewhere in the past, which I'm pretty sure is a fact. Or if it's not, I just made it up, and it is now a fact. But I feel like he's there, and I'm really mad that we haven't seen him yet, but I get it. Whatever.
Okay, so I watched it the next day. And this was kind of weird because remember back when we were watching Game of Thrones when Battle of the Bastards came on?
Yeah.
I was all kind of nervous stomach to know what was on.
Right.
I felt the same way about this episode for some reason.
Well, that's because we just came out of we don't know what was going to happen.
Well, that's been. I'm not sure exactly still. Why this episode to me shouldn't have been any different than any of the others.
Maybe you had a nervous stomach because I wasn't there to hold your hand while we watched
That's what it was. But anyway, that's kind of the feeling I had through the whole episode, which was, again, like I said, kind of weird to me. But it all started out with the young John Garrett.
Yeah.
Which
I thought.
We'll get into this, okay. but this was a cool thing. But anyway, so of course I'm assuming now he's in the same S.H.I.E.L.D. bar that they bring back 100,000 times. So obviously he's either he's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in training there. Right. The reason I say that is because Nathaniel said he had top scores and he's a great pilot and all that stuff. So and of course anybody who hasn't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the character John Garrett was actually originally in season 1. He was in for like 9 episodes, starting with episode 14 in Tahiti. And basically, he was at that time he was just a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who was the original SO for
Ward.
Grant Ward. And eventually, of course, we find out that he was actually a Hydra guy. And of course, he became a Hydra guy when he went on a mission and was left. He got wounded.
Basically left for dead.
Right, left for dead by S.H.I.E.L.D.
Extract him.
Right, and they kept coming with excuses why they couldn't come get him, so he got a bad attitude and decided to go a different route. Right. So anyway, so of course, this is before then. He's still just a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in training kind of thing.
Right.
When Nathaniel comes across him, and basically he tells him that he can let him see his future and basically give him superpowers. So, he wouldn't sign up for that gig, I suppose. Right. So that's basically what he offered him, because he's.
Well, he's Nathaniel already knew he could be a turncoat. So,
right. I mean,
go ahead while you're still young and vulnerable. Go ahead and get you to be a turncoat now.
Right. He was susceptible to that kind of thing, so he took advantage of that. Right. Now, back at the White House, they're trying to just figure out what they're going to do next. Now that they've saved themselves from the time storm, right. And I thought this part was a little interesting because Coulson asked, "Man, okay, so what are we going to do?" And he said, "Well, we're dead in the water here." He said, I want you to be you. You tell me if you got a mission for us. Let me know. So to me, it's kind of giving Coulson a little bit of his
carte blanche,
right
to be the
director
right.
in a sense. Not totally, but still, we can at least giving him that that option.
Right.
And of course, all he says, okay, he basically listed the obvious. Okay, we need to fix the timeline. Of course, we can't let Nathaniel run roughshod.
How are they going to fix the timeline at this point?
I know, because they're
going to have to go back down to. They're going to have to go back to 1930 and somehow eliminate the Chronicoms. And now that they know what happened,
I don't know
how they're going to fix it.
Right,
because they've really ruined it now. It's really wrecked.
Right.
It's so wrecked.
Now, of course, they didn't wreck it, but still.
It don't matter how it got wrecked. It's wrecked.
And as you say, I can't think of a way for them to fix it other than go back again to undo what you already did. Or make it where you never went back in the first place.
And how do you do that?
That's no problem. They're the one.
The only one that's going to be able to figure that out is Fitz. And that may be what
could be.
Where he comes in.
Okay. So anyway, so they want to fix the timeline. As you said, however, that.
Sorry, I'm really got issues with it.
You're fine. Relax. It's okay.
I'm here all natural for you all today.
I'm good.
I'm here all natural because we're in a morning meeting with y'all.
So there you go. So again, because they don't want to leave Nathaniel, of course, Nathaniel's taken over Half-Life. So they want to rescue the hostages from Half-Life, and they want to get Cora. Mm-hmm. And of course, if they can stop Malik along the way, that'd be a great thing too.
I'll tell you what. I still want to know what happened to the other Malik. Did he kill him? Yeah. I think he said he killed him. Somehow or another, those words.
I don't remember him ever saying.
I don't know. I think he once said get rid of him or eliminated him or.
Like I said, to me, again,
weak and
again, it's poetic injustice if he's threw him into the portal like he did him.
Well, true.
But we haven't. Either way, we haven't seen him.
Though that was the wise thing for him to do, because wasn't it his brother, that the one Nathaniel that's now, wasn't he the one who was the I think he was the troublemaker anyway.
No, Nathaniel wasn't anything. He was kind of a milksop that let his brother trick him into going to the portal because he switched the rock side.
Take this part out right here.
No, we're not going to take that part out.
No, take this part out because I don't know where I got that thought process.
No, it said.
I think I'm having dreams about this stupid show.
Nathaniel,
I really think I'm making up stuff. So it'll make my mind be okay with it.
And there is no timeline. Like I said, basically they were just brothers. Just that Gideon basically tricked his brother into going into the portal instead of him by with the stone thing. Right. That's the last you ever saw of Nathaniel.
The stone thing was going on for a long time.
I know that, but again, that doesn't make Nathaniel bad or anything. He was just his brother that he basically betrayed and sacrificed him so he could stay alive. So this is the first we've gotten to see of Nathaniel really doing anything, and so far it's not been good. So obviously none of those. Again, you should have killed the father when you had the chance. But anyway. Okay, so that's pretty much what they want to do. In the meantime, Daisy talks to Gemma because she was a little concerned about when she had her implant removed, how emotional she got.
Right.
And she's asked us, okay, do you remember, did something happen? Were you guys, in trouble or something? No, I don't remember that. Why, did I say something when I took the implant off?
Don't tell me.
Right. And basically that's what she's saying, is that, because if I did, I don't want to know. He says, well, you were really upset.
You were inconsolable.
Right. You were devastated. And of course, Gemma doesn't remember any of this because she has the implant back in. But it gets her thinking. He said, if I was devastated, what happened? Yeah, what happened? And of course, her natural thinking is it had something to do with Fitz. Mm-hmm. So, and this was actually not in the order, but I'm going to go ahead and put it here. Then she goes to talk to Deke. Mm-hmm. And Deke is looking at the time, the jump drive, because he's wanting to know how come there's, because it was their understanding, at least as Jim described it to him, that Fitz was controlling the jumps and the jump drive. Right. And he's saying he doesn't understand why it's no longer communicating with Fitz. And she said, well, maybe it's possible that it really never was. That they just programmed it to wherever the chronocoms went, we would go, which is essentially what they were doing. They were just following the chronocoms whichever time they went to. Right. Said, and I've been sending him message and I haven't gotten anything back from him. So, of course...
But I thought they weren't... But she was kind of sending it out to the void just
And that was my understanding, but apparently now with what Daisy told her, now she's starting to get a little concerned that why he's never answered.
Yeah.
And of course, Deke doesn't want to hear any of that. He's saying,
Right.
nope, said, don't even talk about that. Said, we're going to figure this out.
We're fine, everything.
So we're going to get back home and we're going to get to Fitz. I don't want to hear any more about that.
Right.
She said, okay, yeah, sure. And of course, you can tell when she's walking away that she's not sure.
Right. So, neither is he.
Right. So they decide that they need to go back to Half-Life and rescue the hostages, but they wanted to contact Jaine. Of course, remember, Jaine and Gordon went into hiding right after the thing. So he tells Gemma, this is right after she's talking to Daisy, to come to the command and ask her to go send a message to the watch that May gave Jaine to come back. I mean, she barely gets the coordinates in, boom, there they are. And of course, Jaine wants to go and kill everybody and get take Half-Life back and get her daughter back. And of course, they said, no, we're going to go get her. And she's saying, well, I don't even know you people. Why should I trust you?
Listen, you just need to stay here.
Right. And Daisy's saying, well, we protect Inhumans. Just said we'll go get them. Of course, she doesn't know, at this point, she doesn't know Daisy either.
Right. Or that she's an Inhuman.
And then, of course, she says, okay, well, if you're going to go, I want to go with you. And they're saying, no, you don't need to do that because we've already seen that your presence kind of escalates Cora. She gets real upset. So better that you stay here and we'll deal with her. And she goes, well, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to agree to it. But make sure you bring my daughter back. And, of course, Daisy didn't know that Cora was her daughter. So immediately she goes out in the hall to confront May. Actually, May and Yo-Yo were trying to tell her. Right before,
that's trying to happen.
Right before Jaine suddenly popped in there, they were getting ready to tell her this, but they didn't get a chance. So anyway, she goes, so how come you didn't tell me about this? And said, well, because we were kind of lost in a time storm.
And there was a mission.
Right, and we were getting ready to tell you when this happened. She goes, well, then she goes, well, I can't understand why Jaine never told me about another daughter. So
she wouldn't tell her because she hadn't been born yet.
Right. I know. Well, no, she had been.
Oh, you mean prior to?
Yes. So in her timeline, how come Jaine never mentioned to Daisy?
Well, first of all, I would assume that she didn't tell. First of all, how much time did Jaine really get to talk to her daughter before she was taken by SHIELD agents away from the compound? After
she meant after when she went back.
When she went back,
right? She had an opportunity to tell her then.
Well, true, but also I think in the original timeline, her daughter committed suicide because of her powers.
Exactly.
And she probably thought, that's not a really good thing to say. Oh, yeah, you used to have a powered daughter who blew her brains out because she couldn't handle her powers. And now you've got these amazingly strong powers. Let me tell you about it so that you can think about that.
Okay, so
that's my thought.
Now, and of course, Daisy's thinking exactly along that timeline. Okay, now her daughter, and this is what changed the whole timeline. Mm-hmm. Originally, her daughter committed suicide. Nathaniel stopped her.
Right.
Said, but
Daisy's, there was no one there.
Right, but Daisy's thinking that because her daughter committed suicide is why she left Half-Life, went out to be a doctor,
and to meet her father. Right. And so now that's not going to happen. Right. So what does that make? Yeah.
Don't jump ahead. We're getting there. Okay, but exactly right. Okay, so she's thinking that's probably why she never talked about her because she was, still upset because she lost her daughter. Okay, so now in the meantime.
Okay, okay. So we talked about this for half a second during the episode.
Okay.
What I'm thinking about when this happened was, pretty much Jaine can heal herself.
At that point, yeah. Though we already know.
I do know that when her father crushed her spine, she died.
Right.
And I see that, and then of course
Nathaniel,
and I guess maybe Nathaniel breaking her neck is no healing from that. Maybe, I don't know.
See, which I don't believe that. That doesn't make any sense considering they basically cut her, took all the organs out and everything.
And that's why I'm thinking.
So why is she able to heal from that, but can't heal from a broken neck or a broken back?
Well, broken back I can see only because you crushed everything, but just broken neck.
Well, you just pulled their organs out of them and left them basically a hole.
Right.
But you can heal from that.
Well, also I think she has to be. But see, she had just sucked some of his energy out of him. Out of Nathaniel, which is why I'm wondering if maybe she's gonna pop up from that situation. And the only reason I say it's only because she's gotten some of she had sucked some of his because
Yes.
that's what heals her.
Right.
Is
taking other people's
yeah,
life force out of
right.
them. Which,
So I wonder if
you
that
know,
was just enough to get her to kick that.
you know,
neck
if she had
back in
if she had a little tougher stomach, when she could have took that elbow he gave her, she could have finished him off. Sure, come on.
What's the matter with you? Toughen up, babe.
Right. So, but again, we're jumping ahead.
Right.
So they decide they're going to go to Afterlife to save the hostages, but instead of Daisy wants to go, so no, you're not going.
Right.
Jaine wants to go, no, you're not going.
Right.
So it's going to be Mac and Yo-Yo, Coulson, and Gordon, because Gordon can get him into the conference.
Right.
It's going to be a four-man team. Going to be Mac and Yo-Yo, Coulson, and Gordon. So in the meantime, Nathaniel has taken Garrett and taken him to Afterlife and is giving him a tour of the facility.
Right.
And basically says, okay, now we're going to show you how it is that we know these things. So he takes him to the room where they basically recreated the controls where Coulson originally went in and talked to Sybil. You know, you put your arms in.
Right.
And he's saying that she's going to show you your future. He's saying, be warned that most people don't like what they see because, of course, in his case, he gets killed. So he goes in there and sees his future. So then he takes him after he does that.
We're talking about Garrett, right?
Yes, we're talking about Garrett, yes. So then he takes Garrett into the treatment room where he has got Lee in a chair and he's basically sucking Lee's powers out of him and giving them to another guy. And these are guys he's recruited basically from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s past, who S.H.I.E.L.D. he said did wrong and he rectified the situation. In this case, the guy was a mercenary that S.H.I.E.L.D. shot his plane out of the sky. And he said, I don't know, what gives him the right to do that? He said, well, what gives you the right to pick and choose who gets powers and things? But, you know, whatever. He's crazy. So anyway, so he's, of course, Lee has his power was to be able to materialize knives out of his hands. So he's giving that power to this guy. And Garrett is sitting there watching that, and he's saying, wow, that's really cool. So what kind of powers am I going to get? He said, in time, we'll get you some. But in the meantime, he said that, you know, the process that we're using to do this is much neater than it was before, but it still causes a lot of pain. So he tells Chorus that Mr. Lee there is in a lot of pain. I think you need to put him out of his misery. And I was kind of surprised how easily she decided
to kill him.
Of course, it probably helped when he said, I should have killed you before.
Yeah,
before.
yeah. Oh, really? Okay, let me help you then.
Right, so of course she ends up, whatever she does to him, and kills him. So anyway, so that's her first kill, basically by order of Nathaniel.
So, I don't understand the logic behind killing these people with powers. They're the ones who have the original juice. Why would you kill the original juicers?
I mean, with the idea that you could take some more from one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, why don't you have a bunch of people well,
of course, unlike...
Why don't you have them in stasis and have them in the framework?
Right.
While you're waiting for them to give you more.
Well, it also could be because...
Hell, they can do it right there while they're in the framework and they can still live their life.
Now, you remember that when he took Daisy's powers, you know, he hadn't perfected it yet. Perhaps, though, in his perfection of the system, it basically drains it all out of him, so there's nothing left to drain.
Oh, maybe because Gordon was very weak.
Right.
He was only enough to get... He only had enough juice to get him outside and then die.
Right. So... And I assume, knowing Nathaniel, that was probably the case. He wanted it all, and then he didn't need you anymore. Which, to me, like I said, he already found out that he could take a little bit
and it would
give him power, and you could still have him to get later on if he wanted to. But I guess he wasn't thinking that far ahead. Surprisingly
and
enough,
apparently
it's Sybil,
still not.
Right?
Yeah,
which is
why wouldn't she? She thinks ahead, doesn't she?
That's supposed to be her job.
Yeah. What? Okay. Whatever.
Okay. So anyway, in the meantime, the team of four is arriving at Afterlife. And Gordon's sitting there, I started to say looking at a gun, but he can't see, he's got no eyes. But he said they're holding the gun, and Mac takes it from him.
Yeah, we're not giving a blind guy the gun.
Right, he said, what,
you obviously can see, you see,
right.
But you don't see.
But you don't see, so you what, you don't trust me? I said, well, no, you don't have any eyes, dude.
It's a little bit disconcerting.
I said, okay, so the plan is that Gordon is going to take Coulson into the compound to find out where the hostages are. Once they find out, come back, Mac and Yo-Yo go in to rescue them. So, okay. But, of course, the minute Coulson and Gordon show up, there's Nathaniel immediately waiting on him, and they shoot Gordon, and basically Coulson just agrees to be taken because he didn't have to. He could have put up a fight, but he didn't. You just let him, get him
because he already figured I can get and I'm an LMD.
Right, and I can find out what some more information because people love to talk, especially to me. So in the meantime, Coulson is led into the treatment room, and remember that when they took Gordon, when they shot Gordon, they said take him to be prepped. So immediately now he's in the truth, but this time Gordon is attached to Garrett, and of course Garrett sees Coulson and acts like he's with her long lost buddy because he's seen the future and seeing exactly what happens. And he tells Coulson and said that I saw but you. Of course Coulson doesn't even know who he is initially. He's sitting there looking at him and said, "Do you know who you are?" He says, "Yeah, you might remember that you vaporized me." And then of course he immediately recognized him as John Garrett. Mm-hmm. And he said, "But I'm not even mad. And you know why? Because I got to see you die a bunch of times." And so Coulson, this is going to put me part of the charm of Coulson, says, "So, which was your favorite?" Mm-hmm. He said, "When you got stabbed through the heart by that long-haired guy. That was hilarious."
That was funny.
Right, he said it was funny. Right, so that was funny. They're going ahead and starting to take Gordon's powers from him. And of course, Coulson said, "You don't need to do this. He's just a boy. Don't do this to him." And of course, now Garrett's starting to feel the effects of it, but then he's starting to think, "Wait a minute, Gordon has no eyes.
Yeah. Like, what if I get no eyes now?"
Right. He said, "I want to kind of keep the baby blues." He said, "Am I going to be able to keep them?" We're really not sure. So he's just, he's thinking otherwise now. He's saying that no, forget it. I want to get out. And of course, he disappears.
Right, because and I'm assuming that's why Gordon didn't die right then, because he had just enough juice left to get out.
Yeah, and again, which proves your point. You didn't have to take it all from him,
right?
To give him his power. So anyway, so he teleports himself.
But here's the problem: if you don't take it all, then you got these do-gooders who are trying who got their powers.
Right. So anyway, so he teleports to another room, comes back in, and he's all excited with his new power. And of course, he doesn't know what it's called, and Phil tells him, "You teleported." Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that name. Good, Phil. He says, "Okay, so now that you have the power, can you take me where I want to go?" I'm not sure why he assumes that he can, but he said, "Yeah, sure, we can do that." So, okay, so he grabs Nathaniel and they disappear. So their goal is to get to the lighthouse.
Right.
And of course, apparently he tried it twice and didn't get in there. Third time, said, "Well, I guess third time's a charm." And he said, "Yeah, so I got you." He said, "Okay, so now we're going to need to split up. Are you going to be okay?" Mm-hmm. He said, "Yeah, sure, you'll be okay." So in the meantime, while they're arrived at the lighthouse, Garrett runs into May. And of course, again, because he's been seeing the future, he knows who May is, and May doesn't know who he is.
Right.
But of course, just like Coulson, she recognizes him pretty quick.
Right.
And of course, May's trying to do her May thing, and he keeps disappearing on her. But May also, she keeps pushing the advantage, so eventually she gets to the point where she hits him, and then she's beating the crap out of him. Right. And finally he disappears just because I can't beat her in a fight.
I'm just going to have to leave.
Right, so he just leaves. So while this is going on, Sousa has talked to Dave and said, "How come you don't want to talk to your mom?" And he goes, "Well, she can't know. We want to mess up the timeline." I said, "Timeline's screwed already."
There's not much more you can screw.
Right. I said, but you have an opportunity. Then he tells him a little about what happened with her mother in the original timeline. He said, "Well, wouldn't you like to talk to her before all that happened? Right. See what she's like before then?" He said, myself, there are plenty of people, now that I would love to have another moment with." Mm. Again, still think he's talking about Peggy, but so he talks her into going. He said, "I'll tell you what, I'll be your chaperone, and if things get too weird, I'll get you out of there." Right. Said, "You really are a square, aren't you?" He goes, "Well, that's really hard. That's really harsh, but yeah." So she goes to talk to Jiaying, and of course, Jiaying is still a little miffed that her way of thinking, they're kind of keeping her in the dark.
Right.
And I don't know what's going on. She goes, well, just rest assured that we're going to save your daughter. But she asks, so what was your relationship like with Cora? She goes, well, we were inseparable. I mean, for the first few years of her life, she just clung to my leg. She was a sweet, innocent little girl. I said, well, what happened? Pterogenesis happened. And when she got her powers, she couldn't control them. People started getting a little afraid of her. And, most of the people around here wanted to tell her to, get her out of there. And she goes, I didn't want to do that because I thought she was worth saving. Of course she did. She was her daughter. So, but she, as her powers grew and she couldn't control them, she became distant. And of course, that was the reason why she wanted to kill herself, and which is the reason why Nathaniel was able to basically brainwash her, because she was just looking for any kind of positive reinforcement, and she wasn't apparently getting it from her mom.
Right.
And as you look at Cora, I wonder if Lee was the father of Cora.
That's what I was wondering.
Because he looks an awful lot like him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was wondering if that was who the father was, and because he'd been with her for a long time. Lee had been with Jane for a long time. And also, that makes me think, if I'm guessing that Daisy's father never knew that Jiang had a daughter. My guess.
You're talking about? Yeah.
Yes, I'm wondering.
In the original timeline.
Yes.
He never mentioned it.
They never referred about it either.
Right.
And that was why I wondered.
That's what happens when writers come up with stories later on. Too.
Well,
that's a whole other thing. But true enough, right? Apparently, he didn't know about the daughter because she didn't exist. Anyway, so while Daisy's talking to Jiang, she tells her again a little about her mother. Of course, the same person, but basically saying that her mother wasn't like she thought she would be, and it kind of went bad. So of course, Jiang's going, your mother hurt you, didn't she? Well, she goes, I just want you to know that mothers always have the best intentions, but it doesn't always work out like they want. And of course, this is when May, right in the middle of this conversation, May calls and says, hey, Garrett and Nathaniel are on the base, so you guys need to go hide somewhere. Yeah. So they leave the room, but before they can do anything, there's Nathaniel. And of course, Nathaniel is staring at and says, I've been looking for you everywhere. And of course, Jiang asks, where's Cora? He said, well, she couldn't be right here, but she sends her best. And I guess she's giving him a bad look. She goes, well, don't look at me like that. What, you're not happy just to have one daughter? And of course, Jiang didn't know Daisy was her daughter. And she started looking at Daisy, and Daisy's going, I wanted to tell you, but I couldn't. And she goes, so I'm the one that hurt you? She goes, yeah, but let's not worry about that right now. Right. So of course, there's Daisy and Nathaniel are facing off with their quake powers, and he's sitting there telling Jiang the whole story of what happened in Daisy's timeline. Right. How you and S.H.I.E.L.D. had she was with S.H.I.E.L.D., you were with the Inhumans, and of course the whole Hydra thing happened, and basically you were getting ready to kill. You almost had Daisy dead when your father came up.
No, she didn't say that. He said when dear old.
Right. Right. And that's what, well, she's basically that's what he's getting ready to tell her.
But he didn't tell her.
Right. No, he said dear old, and he started to say dad when Daisy knocked him against the wall. So he gets on the wall, so that was pretty good. And then he hits her with like a corkscrew looking thing. Yeah. And then, and this is another thing that I don't necessarily believe. He says that basically because I've had my powers longer than you have, I'm better with them than you are. I don't think so.
Has he had them longer than her? Well, I don't get that.
We'll see though. Again, remember he got him in 76.
I think when they went back.
Right. So when and
now they're in 83.
Right.
Doesn't matter. She's still strong.
Right. I was sitting there saying, well, I've never seen him fly. I've seen her fly using them. Said basically all I've seen you do is use your little corkscrew thing. And you can knock glasses around.
He might not know he can do that.
Right. Again, that's all part of it.
Don't tell him.
Right. Okay. It's a secret. We're not telling
you how to use your powers.
So anyway, so his whole idea is
stole him anyway.
Right. That he's better with her powers than she is. I don't believe it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, of course, once he knocks her into the wall, Jane grabs him by the back of the neck, starts sucking his powers out of him. Right. That is
going to be.
You're ready to bring her back?
Yes, because I think she got just enough juice to crack her neck back into place.
So,
even though Daisy's laying over her right now, crying, speaking, but she's not returned to the. They haven't caught. They just said she's dead. They didn't say that.
I'm thinking she's dead.
I don't want her to be dead. I want her to bring her back. She has to be.
Okay, so anyway, as we're jumping the gun a little bit, anyway, so she's sucking his life force out of him. He elbows her away and knocks her against the wall.
And then breaks her.
And, right, and then because she started to go back toward him again, and Daisy said to her, Mom, don't.
Right.
And he snaps her neck.
Right.
And of course now Daisy's really liquored up and pissed off. And the whole room's starting to shake, and he's starting to back up because he knows the shit's about ready to hit the fan.
Right.
And of course, then May comes up and shoots him, just wings him in the shoulder, but he runs off. Mm-hmm. And of course, May goes after him, but Daisy goes to her mother. Her mother, we're assuming he's dead unless we do. I bring back, but this is a comic-based thing. Anything can happen. And I can see how that. Again, like I said, if you can read
that would be my.
If you can heal back from
bring her back.
Yeah, if you can heal back from having your organs taken out of you, you should be able to cure from a broken back.
And she'd already gotten a little juice, so I'm gonna go with
Okay. So
yeah, she might have got some juice and some tremor powers.
Okay, so after Daisy goes to her mother, May's trying to get up Nathaniel. Back at Afterlife, Coulson and Gordon are in the room, and Coulson, of course, snaps his cuffs off because he could have done it any time. And he's getting ready to break him out of there, but Gordon says, "You're never going to get out of there." And we never found out because he used the last of his energy to transport him out, and he dies. So Coulson is going toward where the hostages are when Matt catches up to him. And then he says, "I'm going to call for Yo-Yo." And before he can even put the thing to his mouth, she's there. Yo-Yo seems faster now with her. Now that she's got her thing, of course, now that she doesn't have to snap back. So she said the reason she was there is because May called and said that Nathaniel and them were at the base.
A little bit of a heads up.
A little heads up. So Max says, "Okay, Coulson, you go get Cora, and we're going to rescue the hostages." Now, standing guard over the hostages is the guy who got his newfangled knife skill. Where you can make a knife come out. So they. Yo-Yo hits him with the world famous heart-crushing blow of "Hey, dummy!" And of course he materializes the knife and throws it at her. So she speeds up, grabs the knife, rams it into his leg, and of course then Matt comes over and knocks the crap out of him. So rescuing the hostages was easy, and of course he tells Yo-Yo, "So I'm really digging the upgrade." So they rescue the hostages. Coulson goes in, and Cora's apparently sitting in the room waiting for him. And knows he's coming. So she tells him that, yes, I knew you were coming, said, "I want to go with you. And I want to meet my sister because Sybil has told me all about it." And Coulson ices her. And knocks her out. So the hostages are safe. Cora's safe. And they're taking them back to the Quinjet. But in the meantime, Nathaniel and Garrett are still running around the base. And Garrett comes across Gemma and Sousa, and come to find out their original target, that's why they're at the base, was Gemma. So he grabs Gemma, and before Sousa can do anything to stop him, they're gone. And where they ended up was on the Zephyr. So you got Nathaniel, Garrett, and Gemma on the Zephyr, and Deke is still on the Zephyr. Though I don't know that they know that Deke is still there, because Deke was still in there messing around with the jump drive. So they jump in the plane and start to take off, and Deke is calling May and saying, "Hey, why are we leaving?" He says, "Well, we're not leaving. You are." So they've taken the Zephyr, and of course we come to find out that the reason that they took the Gemma is, according to Sybil, every possibility where they come out not winning, so to speak, is because of Fitz. So they want to know where Fitz is, and she's going to tell them because they're going to stop him from interfering in their plans finally. Right. So, which is, of course, as you said in the beginning, obviously Fitz is still around there somewhere, so maybe that should subdue her fear a little bit.
Yeah, that he's not anywhere.
Right. But of course, now they want her to tell them where he is. And of course, Deke is still there. And like I said, I'm assuming they don't know he's there, though, I guess.
See, I would almost think that, I think he's in the past, but I don't know how far in the past he is.
We're talking about Pitts now.
Yeah. Or is he in the framework, like in some sort of stasis?
Of course, I also
that he can help her from there.
I kind of thought that he might be even in the same kind of situation like Sybil is. They put him into that kind of virtual, again, very much like the framework.
Yeah.
And somehow or another.
See, the only way that could have an issue if they put him in the past and just brought all of the things that they needed for it to work, or maybe he's in space.
Well,
because if he's in stasis in space in the framework, that would even be better. That's where Enoch and him are. They're up in space.
You mean the other Enoch?
They're Enoch and the
other. Well, again, and again.
So now they're together either in the framework in stasis. Their physical bodies are in stasis. Well, not Enoch's. He's going to watch over Fitz, but I wonder if that's what they've done now, and they've put him in a place where he can still do what he needs to do from within the framework being the real way that he's communicating, because it's a computer system.
Of course, I even thought that perhaps what happens if Fitz is still actually in that mind prison thing, and all of this has been kind of created for him. I don't know. There's all kinds of things we could get
into. If they end this like Bob Newhart, I would be really mad. Forget stop.
Okay. So anyway, that's pretty much where we're at. So we got Gemma has been captured by Nathaniel and Garrett. The rest of the team is together in the bottom, so they got to try to figure out what they're going to do. Deke is on the Zephyr with Gemma, and we got 2 weeks left, 3 episodes left to get this all ironed out.
It's 1 and 2 double.
Right. So we got next week's episode, right, and then we got a 2-hour final,
right,
which is what they did last year for season 6. Right. Overall thoughts of the episode. Now let's get into young John Garrett. Of course,
excellent casting.
Right,
I thought.
Yes, they casted Bill Paxton, of course, who played the original John Garrett. They casted his son James,
right,
who
looks just like his father.
Right, and he captured the swagger of the original. He really did a good job. Although, and he captured it also with some of the uncomfortableness of youth, like when
exactly. It was perfect. It was like because he didn't know what he could do yet.
Yeah, therefore
he was kind of
when he jumped away from May and ended up falling down through his chute, and he did what everyone does, right? When you fall down, you go to the ground. Yeah, I meant to do that. Right. It's good, right? Great job of casting. Like I said, and to be honest with you, when I first saw the clip, I never realized who he was.
I can tell you what, all I had to do was smile.
Right.
Smile perfectly.
So, and of course, we're assuming that he will be in the next episode because, great casting there. And pretty much because of that, he was my performer of the week because, he had some shoes to fill.
Yeah. Right.
and he did it.
Did a good job.
Right.
Great job, actually.
So now, again, and you had mentioned before, now how is this going to affect Daisy?
And that's why I feel like she's got to be alive. Because then what? Daisy disappears. Daisy is nobody's daughter.
Right. And this is what, again, you sort of got the same deal with Deke. He said, no, if they don't have a daughter, then he's not born because he's the grandson. So time's a stupid thing. You can never figure it out.
That's why you don't mess with it.
Right.
Ripples not waves.
That's what Mac said. Mac will tell you, don't be messing with it. And so do you think we're going to see Fitz before it's all said and done?
Yeah, I do. I think maybe the last episode, maybe they'll bring him out. Possibly. I don't know that we'll see him next week. Maybe not. But I feel like maybe the finale we'll see him. Right. And I'm very hopeful for a couple of things. I'm hopeful that Jiang fixes herself. I really want that. I really don't want her to be dead. That's just too much. That's just too much. And Fitz. I want to see Fitz. I want to see Fitz with their daughter, who should be some age by this point. And
think we're going to see Enoch?
I do, because I think he's with Fitz.
No, again, I think that is a strong possibility, because again, when Enoch went back in the past with them, the original Enoch should still be somewhere there as well, because he was around for 30,000 years, so he should have been there.
How many times there are, right?
Okay, so how about Grant Ward? You think you might see Grant Ward?
Well, I would think that we're going to see him because Garrett is still young at this moment. And we're in a time frame where Ward hasn't really... Probably Ward has just been born at this point.
He's
probably still too young.
We've already seen, from the framework, what can happen with Ward if he has a different mentor.
Right.
Because he had Victoria Hand as a mentor, and he was a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He had John Garrett, you're a bad guy.
Who knows what's... Yeah, because it could be a totally different situation.
So it would not shock me if they involved him, especially now that John's kind of went on his own little tangent here, as opposed to his original history, that they could bring in Ward in the final two.
Now here's another oddball thing to just think about for a second. Daisy's pretty much been in love with everybody on the show. So, does her real love come back because he doesn't end up
Lincoln?
Yeah.
You could play around with that all day long.
I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that could happen in that last episode.
And like I said, we got the...
But then again, here we go. There's so many things that now have gotten screwed up because of this timeline. Jiang will not go on the trip to meet Daisy's father if she actually comes back to life, or that whole thing. None of that happens at this point.
Like I said, I'm curious to see exactly how, unless they say,
and that doesn't happen to them. What happens with May and her her husband? Because none of that, there won't be any Terrigenesis thing happen, because none of that stuff will have happened.
I look forward to see what they do with this all, how they're going to go wrap this up, because I know they've said in the beginning before it seems all the fans are going to be satisfied with what happens here. They said the same thing about Game of Thrones. That didn't work out. But so like I said, we got 3 episodes left, and that's pretty much it for Stolen. And they're stealing everything, stealing power, stealing Gemma, stealing everybody.
Stealing all my ideas. Okay.
That was the really important part of it.
Yes.
So anyway, the next episode is called A Brand New Day.
All right.
And then we just got the one. Now, talk about great planning by me, which really had no great planning, is that I'm off the week of the final. So none of that happened.
That means we get to watch it and podcast it right after.
Right. So theoretically, yes. Now,
will we podcast it right
after?
We'll probably do it the next
But we could, because I don't have to go to work the next day, which is that's a great thing. I can't believe I planned it so well.
I know.
And it just happens that it's our son's birthday that week, I guess.
Yeah, it's his birthday on the day of the final.
Well, happy birthday to him! Happy birthday to him!
See,
okay,
lucky kid. He has no idea what's going on with it.
But it's great. Yeah, that's our gift to us.
For him.
Great. Thank you, son.
It was our fault that he was born.
Our fault.
Yes. It was our fault.
It was an accident.
Yes.
No, it wasn't. Okay. So in the meantime...
There was no accident.
Are you done?
We just kept accidenting it. Oh, never mind.
You are done. So in the meantime, I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And we'll catch you next week on another Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge.
Bye.
It's been our pleasure to present to you GVN's Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. We'll see you next time.